Trending, we're back.
Hey, bro, what's up?
Not much. Back from Byron.
Yeah, a bit of a party vibe up there, but it was cool. But good to be back in the office, launching some clothes, and Black Friday tomorrow.
Black Friday, mate. Everyone's like, where's the sales, man? And they're here on Friday. How good?
It's an interesting Black Friday because when you talk to marketers and stuff, they always say, make sure you launch early because consumers only got so much amount of money that they can spend, which is true. And they're like, launch Monday, Tuesday. And you can see a lot of brands launch really early, but
heaps early. Like some people were pulling the trigger last week. And like from what we've chatted with the new supplier about like how people are running their business, you sort of can pick what stages people's businesses are in by when they're going on Black Friday. And those type of businesses are probably very high on inventory and stuff like that. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Like any brand that's a lot on sale a lot, they're obviously not getting sales at the moment. So, or they got too much inventory. So that was us last year. To be honest, we over-ordered on inventory and we sort of learned our lesson off the back of that. So yeah.
You spoke on that in the I Love Ugly podcast. So shameless plug, go listen to that one. That was a good one. Trending, this is the show where we talk about on the ICE project all different things that sort of we speak about on morning coffees, on our WhatsApp group chats and whatnot. We've obviously the PS5 came out last week. They sort of spread it through half the NRL. I feel like everyone on Instagram was posting about it, not just here, overseas as well. A lot of rappers and everyone was posting about it. The one that sort of stood out was they collaborated with Travis Scott. They brought out a shoe for him. They got him to promo it. They went live on YouTube for it to announce it. He had that photo ages ago in front of that massive screen as well. And it sort of leads to the point where, Travis Scott's everywhere, eh?
Yeah, he's sort of like Lil Wayne 2008, but it was a different time where Lil Wayne would just jump on everyone else's verses or they'll pay him $100K for a verse on a song because they knew he was going to sort of blow them up, very much like jumping on a Joe Rogan type podcast. You sort of get that Rogan bump. But Travis Scott right now, he's probably the most relevant person in terms of rap. One, he makes good music. Two, he's cool as fuck. Three, he's part of that Kardashian clan. Whether as a guy we like to accept it or not, they are relevant within this space. But very strategic with all his types of collabs. They're not with nobody. You go PlayStation, you go McDonald's. Fortnite, that one was huge.
That blew up. Like people watching. I don't know if anyone's ever watched that. Go on YouTube and watch the Travis Scott Fortnite scene. Like the visuals and everything. Like your Fortnite character is just in the world watching this concert, and it's
it was in the middle of COVID too, so like engagement would have been a lot higher. I don't know who does his marketing for him, but it must be super smart.
I think he's sort of always ridden that wave. Like he's always been like 2 steps ahead. He had that Netflix doco before Netflix. Like obviously Netflix has been quite massive, but it was sort of like before like the hype of like a Last Dance documentary. Like he had his doco and he sort of seems always like 1 step ahead of the game. The McDonald's one, like he's like selling out. Like it's just a quarter pounder. Like that's all it is. Like it's nothing crazy. But people are going up to the menu going, Cactus Jack sent me. I bought some of the merch. It's fucking terrible quality, but it still sells out.
It still looks cool though.
It's still mad. Yeah. But it's just the hype around him as like a person, and brands are smart enough to leverage off it. How much do you reckon the bag would be for linking up with like PS5?
I want to say 10 mil or something.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Because
I know Kylie Jenner for one post is 1.2 million, but he's doing like proper, it's like tailored, like collabs towards him. I don't know what he gets off McDonald's where he got an upfront payment and kickbacks off the back of it, but I don't think he's doing anything for less than 10 mil. In my opinion, I'm just fucking.
And I think they call that like brand activations. I think that's like the marketing word for it, where that's how they're activating their product. Fun off the back of that, the live stream launching the PS5 with Travis, they had that shoe. So he's been wearing it. He'll wear it like 3 months ago, and everyone's like, "Oh, what's that? What's that?" And everyone starts
Kanye would have learned that from Kanye, wouldn't he?
Definitely. So he brought out the SB Dunk for the shoe, but everyone's like, "Oh, sick! We're going to be able to get these." And then straight after the live stream, you go shop.traviscott.com, you register, and there's literally 5 shoes available. So they're just 5 of these things that are going to get around. So I don't know if you haven't really started seeing them on like StockX and anything like that. It says not for resale in the ad for it, just to sort of like continue the hype for it.
But even the small stuff like an action doll, like all those very hypey, very Supreme, like Supreme drop random like items like an axe or a money machine that shoots out like cash or fake cash and stuff like that. So I think he understands culture. He understands marketing, and the best thing about it, he seems like he's the type of bloke that'll rock up to a McDonald's. Like we've seen him because he knows everyone's going to be there and they're going to have their phones out and they got the interpersonal touch with him. And I remember Taylor Swift used to do it with the weddings. Like she's just randomly pop up at weddings, and then everyone shares that, and then it goes viral on Twitter, viral on Instagram. He understands virality of him just being at a random spot, and everyone's got a phone out. So in terms of marketing and who he's ahead of the game right now, in front of everyone.
Have you seen anything of what Taylor Swift's up to at the moment?
What's she doing now?
She's re-recording her whole back catalogue just to stick it to Scooter Braun. So that should come out soon. That's an interesting story. I won't go into it, but just Google it. It's pretty funny with her masters and all that sort of stuff. She's like, fuck you, Scooter, and just doing the whole catalogue. The other thing that sort of popped up, it was quite interesting, Tesla, they're launching a tequila. Have you seen the bottle for it? It's like a storm shape sort of thing. Looks hectic.
No, I haven't seen the bottle for it, but I remember Mark Boris was in here and like we had those. What's that water called? It looks like a little potion bottle anyway.
There's one.
Let's say Water Plus.
Here we go.
Anyway, as soon as he sat down, he paid attention. As soon as he sat down, he paid attention to the water bottle. He goes, "That's a really cool shape. It makes me feel like it's like." I said potion, but he said like gin or something like that. So I think in terms of marketing, he just overtook Bill Gates as the second richest person in the world right now. And like Mark Boros paid attention to something like that. So Elon Musk must understand the importance of shape when it comes to packaging and branding.
Well, even look at the cars. They're like futuristic, but still not like
simple.
It's not like Back to the Future different. I guess the Tesla truck is.
Yeah,
that's the one where he went bold on it. But like the Model S or the Model X or whatever they're called, they just sort of look like normal cars. But then you sit in it and they've got the white seats and that huge dash screen thing, and you're like, and you're trying to convince him to buy a Tesla.
You'll try and you'll see. You can see it already for the alcohol brand. So obviously when we start a clothing brand, people see it start to do well and they start to replicate that now. And rappers have always attached themselves to alcohol. You think of 50 Cent, Drake dropped his one back in the day. I think The Rock's got his own type of tequila.
Ciroc, Diddy?
Yeah, Ciroc, P. Diddy. So there's always been that cross-correlation between rap stars and alcohol, and they always sort of take off and sell, but you need a lot of upfront cash to sort of cash flow the front of it. And you can see it starting to happen here now in Australia. See, Denon Kemp was kind of the first guy. My friend Marcus Keller, he runs Vodka and they're doing probably a bit better than Denon at the moment. They sell a different product, but then you can see like the snowball effect, like people see that little bit of success and like, how can I replicate this as well? And me and Normie were sort of talking about it probably 2 years ago about starting in alcohol. We had this guy who ran a brand called Wingman. He was sending us products, and which was super interesting. We loved it, and then we just weren't at the right space or the right time. But it's not something like it's a hard business model because the tax laws are very different. Like, say once you sell alcohol, you got 7 days to pay your tax, so you're always giving the government money, and it's a game of scale. So there's like 4 or 5 big alcohol companies, and once your goal is to sell it, and they see you take off. So say a bloke in the bar's taking off, they might come and go here. Your numbers are way too good. We don't want to see you as competition. We're going to buy
breweries, the big dogs come in.
And and it's interesting. And like I see alcohol as an easy marketing scheme. I've been talking to a few people about it. Attention's the important part, and that's what Denon's done really, really well. And Chad Townsend just jumped in as well. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be one of those things that a lot of people are going to try, but maybe 1 or 2 will really, really do well out the back of it.
I think like you mentioned Vodka and like the cool thing about them was like that was sort of like a first, and now like the new thing is those seltzers. Like I don't think I've ever. Is that like just a Smirnoff Double Black? Is that what a seltzer?
It's not as sweet. So in New Zealand they got to think a lot long white clouds, and people smack them. All they do is drink those. But obviously there's that White Claw that's popping up. I think that's part of Smirnoff, who are one of the big dogs, and then Fish has just launched Frizz, which is very similar.
Fizz,
Fizz.
Yes.
Fizz.
That's the Fizz, Fizz is fizzing.
Yeah. He just launched that as well. So like you said, there's probably, and my friend in New Zealand just launched an alcohol brand as well. So there's probably like 5 or 6 that are in there. But in theory, I reckon if you want to get into that type of industry, you'd need like and want to do it well, you need about $1 million, I reckon, to launch. $500K to launch, and then $500K to cash flow the business, because once you're out of stock and there's payment terms of 30, 60 or 90 days, and you always got money owing back to you, it's a kind of a messy industry. Plus, you got to be paying your taxes as well.
Regulations.
So I think you need a big cash flow to get into that type of business.
What are the other topics that we were going to...
Stan.
Yeah, that was a cool one. A few weeks back, it came out that the Rugby have pulling it from like, I think they're on 7 or not 10 maybe, one of the major networks, and they're going to Stan, which is owned by Channel 9. I think it's cool because if things...
It's innovative.
And that's what rugby needs. Rugby needs innovation to sort of kickstart the love of rugby. Like, I remember as a kid watching every Bledisloe like religiously. The Wallabies were winning at the time, so it probably helped. But I think rugby just needs that little bit of an injection. Park rugby and everything like that's still firing. I went to like the Warringah Rats, but North Sydney.
It's a big game, eh?
That's a mad game. North Sydney Oval was packed pre-COVID last year, obviously. Beers on the hill, sitting there with your mates. It's like warm weather on. Like,
even Guffo and that, like, get around those Marlins versus Warringah Rats. Like, that's massive over in the northern beaches. And yeah, that stand deal is massive, $100 million. What I actually didn't realize is Rugby Union hasn't been on free to air since like 97, or someone correct me if I'm wrong, but they've never had free to air. Where you look at the league, we get Channel 9, we get the Friday night game and the Sunday Arvo game, which is probably prime time. Probably putting the wrong games on at the moment with the Broncos, but it's a great move by Australian Rugby Union, because Australian Rugby Union need to do fucking something because they're in trouble at the moment. And I'm talking about pure branding. Like, you don't know who the Wallabies are. Like, I don't know who half the Wallabies are. Like, I live in Sydney. Like, I live in the eastern suburbs. I couldn't tell you 5 or 6 Waratahs at the moment. Well, I should be able to tell you who your starting backline is. I could name the Wallabies starting backline from back in the day easily. Like you said, I was always watching those types of games, and obviously winning helps. All Blacks have got a great culture over there. They win a lot, but the Wallabies have just knocked over the All Blacks. But what I'd like to see off the back of that stand deal.
And off the back of the stand deal, they are getting that one Saturday night free-to-air game, which is good because league free-to-air is traditionally Thursday, Friday, Sunday. Yeah. So give us that Saturday. And obviously the league's on 9 as well, which is... So now 9 control rugby as like rugby league and union.
But with that $100 million deal, I'd love Stan to start creating their own types of shows in and around. Same thing that we talk about all the time. Make better content in and around rugby. It's got this kind of... white collar, old school, like no one in this day and age, I don't think too many young kids care about set pieces. I don't think they care about lineouts. I don't think they care about scrums. But they do care about the culture, and there's plenty of cool dudes within Union. Like, look at Quade. Quade's probably cooler than anyone in rugby and in the league. And the way he carries himself, what he wears, all that type of stuff, the way he plays. And rugby is actually a really good game if you understand it.
I love it. Like, I played more rugby union than I ever played in rugby league. I genuinely think it's a more fun game to play than playing league. And like, we shared back end of a few months back, it was pre-season for the Brumbies, and they're all doing their Penrith Panthers style walkouts. You remember that? Like, there's that cool culture that's there. Plenty of Islanders and whatnot play rugby more than they probably would do league. Would you agree with that?
Nah, it'd be about the same. Same.
Okay, fair enough.
Like 40% of the NRL is like Islanders and Māori.
Yeah. So there's that market that they need to like push. You know what I mean? Like,
I think they just got the wrong guys at the top, banking too much on tradition.
Marketing pigeon.
This game's been around forever. It's a global game, which it is. But if you watch 2 really good teams play rugby, it's fucking really interesting because it's a lot more strategic than league. Like, leagues, like, there's strategy in league, but it's like the content makes it look cooler, like the side tips, the hips, all that sort of stuff as well. But if you really pay attention to rugby, it's a really interesting sport. And a lot of people write rugby off because they like league. Like, you can like both. You don't have to pick one or the other. You're able to like both, but they need to do something. They need to change your marketing around rugby union and make the players relevant again. Fuck the tradition. Who cares about the first scrum? Like, tell the stories of the players off the field because there's some pretty cool dudes in rugby 100%. Union.
I remember, like, World Cup, it was England versus the All Blacks. I went to the Oaks Sports Bar. They just redone it. The whole thing was packed because it's a very rugby sort of suburb, that one.
Yeah.
And it was mad. Like, the vibes were mad. The pub was like absolutely cranking. And for some reason, there was heaps of Poms around as well. So it helped that the Poms.
Everywhere, eh? Poms.
Yeah, exactly. So Poms, they knocked over the All Blacks that game. And yeah, it was just a cool vibe, and it sort of made me like, fuck, rugby is quite cool, but then it just sort of never builds legs and it never goes from there.
Do you know what it is, bro? Like, even like, so Bodine Barrett, like, cheers the thing and sculled the bear. He goes, cheers ice. And like, fuck, I ended up posting it because we can post that stuff in league. And then one of the boys, oh, you shouldn't be posting that. That's like in the shed stuff. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, took it down. And then I don't think they're allowed to sort of show who they are because it's more about like the team and the history and all that sort of stuff, which is great. but you're missing out on a demographic that's 18 to 35 that want to see what the boys are up to, want to see the boys having a beer. And the thing with Rugby Union, they don't have any massive personalities within there. So if you look at this snowball effect from the footy show, we had Fatty Vorden, then Matty Johns come along, those types of funny people. I know they had Honey Badger, and he was the guy, and he's fucking funny for a minute. But then off the back of the long tail of the secondary things that come off the back of it, the bloke in the bar, the roasties, the YKTR sports, who create content in and around the sport for free, and it's tailored towards a younger demographic. They don't really have those types of people in there that are just out there talking shit and just pumping the boys up for fucking no reason. Like they don't really have that secondary market of social media because you don't really know who the players are. Like, you can't fall in love with the players. You only sort of see them when they're playing 80 minutes.
Yeah. There's like, if you hunt on Instagram, there's some big like European rugby accounts and things like that, but we just don't have it here. I think there's one called like Rugby Pass or something like that.
But that's one of the big different. Yeah, I know it's Rugby Pass. I've seen it, but that's one of the big differences between Rugby Union is there's so many different styles of Rugby Union that you can play. So when the All Blacks and the Wallabies played each other, it's kind of a similar style. They sort of got those block shapes out the back. It's free flowing. But you go to England, it's purely about scrums and fucking kicking goals. And like the boys look like they just do weights 3 times a week, and none of them can pass a fucking footy. So it is a global game. But then when you watch that diluted version of Union, it's like fuck. When you're so used to free flowing football that the All Blacks play, yeah, it's fucking different. It's chalk and cheese.
Well, that's where we'll wrap up training for this week. We'll be back soon.
See you later, guys.
Like and subscribe.